Welcome to the show, everyone. As you all know, I love to talk about everybody else but me on my show, and we do that right through the radio to everybody out there. Thank you for listening, and we are live on Facebook. So hi to everybody out there. Like us and follow us. We'll share the show later on. My first guest has been on with me one time. She's back with me, and she's very interesting, and I'm really excited about bringing her on. I have with me Cynthia Macluskie, and she's the owner of Macluski. It's Cynthia Macluskie Insurance. Now, I want you to tell everybody first, welcome to the show, and tell everyone a little bit about yourself and your background, because it's pretty neat. Listen up, everyone.
Okay, so I have a son who's 26, and he was diagnosed with autism when he was 3, and we had amazing health insurance, but it didn't cover autism. So autism was an exclusion to all health insurance in the United States.
When was that? How long ago?
So
I don't care about your age.
I passed the insurance legislation in 2008. I think I realized we didn't have coverage in 2001. So the insurance companies felt like, why should we cover autism when in their view it wasn't treatable? So I had to apply for Medicaid and put my son on Medicaid, even though we had amazing insurance. And that was annoying, and it irritated me. And since I'd done insurance in my past life with human resources, I got really involved in advocacy. And then in 2008, with 5 other moms, we ran autism insurance legislation in this state, and we passed it, even though they said it would be impossible. And we passed it with bipartisan Republicans and Democrats.
Wow, they agreed on something.
I know, well, that's what happens when you have moms, babies, and firefighters.
And women.
Yeah.
Women. We said that earlier, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Yeah.
And so, thank you for that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because everyone listening can just say, wow, you know? I mean, there's a lot of people out there that either it's you or someone that you know might have a child like that, and guess what? Or someone you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You made a difference.
Yeah, so we did it in this state, and then other people did it in other states, and now it's no longer an exclusion. So, and there's so much more benefits for those with autism and IDD. And so because of that, Governor Ducey actually appointed me to a committee overseeing access, and we reworked Medicaid for those with autism. So I served on that committee for 6 years.
Wow.
And we made tremendous changes in what's offered, how it's offered, and I still serve actually on committees with United Healthcare, Mercy Care.
I'm going to ask you, and because you're firsthand, you know, when you have, I don't have a child or don't know somebody who does, but that there's a lot of issues, right? What comes up, you know, you could talk to the people that don't realize when you have a child, let's say with autism, what are the medical expenses on that?
Well, when Mark was first diagnosed, the doctor who diagnosed him in California told us to institutionalize him and try to get pregnant again. Can you imagine that?
That's terrible.
I know. And my son just graduated cum laude from ASU.
Congratulations.
And I sent an email to that doctor who now is at Harvard to just say, your predictions were not true. But there was, because there's a lot of things like OT and PT and speech and just a lot of therapies, and they're very expensive and challenging. But I decided to homeschool because they said he would never go to college, he would never be mainstreamed. There's so many predictions from the system, and one of the reasons I like to advocate within Medicaid is because my son doesn't get any services from Medicaid anymore. And that's because we invested in him so that he could be his best self. And now he's a full-time professional, paying taxes like everybody else.
Isn't that wonderful? You did a good job, Mom.
Yeah, thank
you did a really good job. Now, I want to talk about you because if you're going to, right now is Medicare season. Right?
Yes.
It's in the air right now. So we are going to talk a little bit about First of all, I'm going to say if you're going to look for getting yourself a review right now is the time to do it.
Yes, it is.
Up until when?
December 7th is the last day.
Now, everybody resonates with someone different. But what I love about Cynthia is that she's got this in her blood.
I do.
You know, and if she can help her son with this kind of thing, she can help you know that you understand Medicare. And right now, that must be, you might have a lot of people asking a lot of questions, especially since, you know, the election is over, finally over, right? But now that it's over, a lot of people ask you a lot of questions with what's going to happen for the next, you know, new year.
Yeah, so one of the things that's happened this year is with the Inflation Reduction Act, a lot of the cost for medications was pushed onto the carrier. And because the carriers are carrying more financial responsibility for medications, they pulled back on some of their benefits. So we're seeing a lot of cuts to dental and other things, and it's shocking to the member because they get their summary of benefits for next year and it's less stuff than they had this year.
Yeah.
So it's really a good time to look at your plan and make sure it's still going to be the right plan for next year.
I think that's really important, folks, for people, especially if someone might get ill a lot, right? But you have to really ask questions and speak to somebody local, right? That's really, really,
so
really
important. And also speak to somebody who's going to do more than enroll you in a plan. So, like, I'll give you a few examples. I
Take
had
one for right now, before the break. Go ahead.
Okay, I had a guy diagnosed with pituitary cancer, very rare. Only 2 doctors in the state that treated it, and neither took his Medicare Advantage plan. So I got him a single case agreement. So he was seen at Barrows with a doctor and paid a $10 copay.
I'm sorry, this is the person that you need to call, especially when you have issues like that. It's terrible, and that's what everybody thinks about, you know, my medical bills. And when you can talk to somebody who's experienced and can go the extra mile, I think that's what you'd say. And I call you an insurance advocate.
Yes.
That's what I just wrote down.
I like that title.
I really do too. So that's what you're going to be from now on. And her website is CMACinsurance.com. You work statewide, and this is a free service to the people out there. So it just makes sense. Don't call people on the television. They're not the right people to talk to. They don't. You have how many different carriers that you work with?
Oh, I think 18, 19.
So she has a ton of different people that she's not going to just push you into one. Right now, this year of all years, it is the most important time for you to get that review. And seniors, this is your time. Don't wait anymore. Everything is put behind you, right? Now let's go ahead forward and take care of yourself, because that's what this is really all about.
Absolutely.
Now, the phone number to call her is 602-571-1118. She works statewide. This is a free service to you. Check her out on her website. It's CMACinsurance.com. And you know what? We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk further, because people do have so many questions about the different things that have changed. And I'd like to kind of go narrow and deep on that, right? Because another thing that I heard was that it also went up a little bit too, Medicare. And that's a big surprise, especially for the people that just get it taken out of their insurance, not insurance, but the Social Security, right? So I've heard a lot of different things, and this morning one of my friends told me that, and oh my gosh, now that's even going up. Check her out on her website. It's CMACinsurance.com at 602-571-1118. Okay, we're still live in this room because we're on Facebook. So we're going to keep on going a little bit. Okay. You like it?
Yeah, I love it.
Love it. Me too.
Yeah.
So that is what I'm going to say, is that you're an insurance advocate, because you do a lot more than just put somebody into that. And I think we should really talk about that. Are you glad that we didn't do everything that you wrote down, but we're getting to some of it?
Oh yeah, because I think there's just so much to go over.
Oh God. There's too many alphabets.
And stories, like there's just
I love stories. They love stories
Yeah.
too.
I think that illuminates what you do.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And what I like to do when people come on myself is I like when we educate more than just like, this is what I do, I'm really good at it type of thing.
Yeah.
It's much nicer for them too, they appreciate it as well. And what I do find about people, no matter what you're doing, they do it when they're ready.
Oh, exactly.
Exactly.
You can't rush people.
Mm-mm. We got too much, you got no problem.
Even though you want to rush them sometimes,
Right.
Because you can see, I do a lot of advocacy with autism, and there's a lot of denial sometimes, and people are slow to take action, and people will take the action when they're ready. It doesn't. It's like pushing a rope. It doesn't work. You gotta let people permeate and figure it out for themselves.
Right. I mean, I have figured that out I had to, but I have people, even with on your end, when people come on the show, everybody wants, immediate, and it's not always like that, right?
Yeah.
It's always, sometimes it comes back in different ways, even it could be 3 weeks, a month, it could happen. That's the way people are. And it's funny that I've had a lot of people reaching out to me on my website just this week of people that, because I think also the election they were holding on, and now they're like, I'm gonna do whatever I can now, because now I only have a month and a half or so to do it.
Actually, that happens every election year.
Ever, really?
Yeah.
And if they stay, no matter what, they wait.
Yeah, they do.
They just
I got
wait.
18 phone calls today.
I
Because
bet.
people waited,
Yeah, and they think, oh, I don't need to do that. I'm fine, or I like mine. I had a friend of mine who said, oh, I like mine. And I said, well, that's really great. What happens if you don't have a review and find out that you may not like yours next year?
Right.
And now, I guess it's too late. I don't know if that's the case, but I'm just saying.
We got a little time.
Because people tend to, especially older folks, I'm sure you know this, not because you're old, but because you deal with them. They like security. They don't like change.
They do not like
Right,
change.
right, yeah. But that's something to talk about. I gotcha. So welcome back, everyone. During the break, we always talk to Facebook land out there. It's always so much fun to do that. You can watch us live in here, actually doing this show when you go up onto Facebook. It's really neat. Just go to Networking Arizona. It's really fun to do, and watch us in here doing this show. Okay, so during the break, one of the things that we talked about is, people waiting, people holding off to do things, especially after this election, people are doing, and what did you say?
Well, it's every election.
It's every election, you said. I think it's everyone, every day. I don't know what's wrong with people.
I think people get inundated with political commercials and then Medicare commercials, and they get annoyed, so they just turn it all off and they don't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then once the election's over, then people start to go, okay, now I need to think about my Medicare.
Yeah. And you know what though, it's so important to have this year of all years, I know there's been some changes you had mentioned, and that to me, I don't care what plan you're on, have them check it. It could be right or it could be wrong. And if it's wrong, what happens then?
Well, then we find the right solution for next year. And everybody's needs change too. So we have to check medications, we have to check doctors, we have to prioritize needs, and sometimes plans leave. So there's a bunch of Medicare Advantage plans that are leaving the market, and people need to make sure that they're replacing that plan. For prescription drug plans, the formularies are changing. There used to be 13 carriers, now there's only 6. So,
That's really narrowed in. There's a lot of people that, I'm going to use my ex-husband as an example. He had been sick, and they gave him a medication that was like $500 a month.
Yes.
And that's just outrageous. I don't care what you talk about, if you have money or not, it's outrageous. And so and that's something I said to him, you know what, you better make sure that you have that checked, because maybe they can get you on a different plan, because now it might be covered much better.
It's so important because this year in particular, formularies are narrowing. And especially if you're like on insulin or an inhaler, some eye drops, these are the things that you might be in a plan that no longer is covering that. Particular insulin, and so maybe you're gonna have to change insulins, and maybe you don't want to. I mean, this is important things, and so it's very important to reevaluate. Last year I evaluated a client of mine, And I called and I texted and I emailed, and finally I had to call his wife. Because 2 of his insulins were not on the plan for this year, and it was gonna cost him $20,000 out of pocket if we didn't make a change. And so luckily his wife made him call me back, and we took care of that, but that's important. And then sometimes things are just expensive. And so I pay to belong to a pharmacist advocacy group. So if a client is diagnosed with something and it's an expensive drug, I go to those pharmacists and they tell me what patient assistance programs are available, what grant programs are available, all the different places you can buy it to save money. So I have a client who was diagnosed with a cancer in her stomach, and the drug is $20,000 a month. But we were able to apply for a grant program and a patient assistance program, and she's paying $200 a month.
This is the reason why you should call Cynthia, okay? And because, especially if you are on a drug that costs a lot of money. And the fact that I called you an insurance advocate, I surely did write down the right words, because you really are. You go the extra mile, and not very many people do that. So the phone number to call is 602-571-1118. She works statewide, and this is a free service to you. Her phone number again is 602-571-1118. It's cmacinsurance.com. So it's the letter C and then macinsurance.com. So that's really important that people do have this review, and they have till December 7th, right?
Correct.
But don't wait, that's for
don't
sure.
wait. Because it's time consuming. Some of the formularies, like let's say you're on an insulin with an Omnipod. Omnipods are not listed on Medicare.gov. They're not listed on any software. So you have to go formulary by formulary looking it up.
Do a lot of people, are they on that?
Yeah, Omnipod is pretty popular. So yeah, and it's time consuming to really do that research, and it's very hard to research it yourself, like I said, because it's not listed on Medicare.gov. It's considered a medical device, even though it's not really. It's really insulin, but it's delivered in a unique way.
What are some of the changes other than this that you mentioned? What are some more of the changes?
Well, okay, so we have the donut hole is officially gone. So $2,000.
Thank God for that.
I know, really. We've been hearing about that donut hole for, I don't even know, it feels like 10
Just
years.
the name of it is weird, right?
I know. And then catastrophic was $8,000, now it's $2,000. So that's saving a lot of people, at least 12% of the Medicare population money. And then I think the other thing that's different this year is there's enhanced prescription drug plans and there's basic prescription drug plans, and trying to make the decision of which one is better for you really depends on what kind of prescriptions you're on.
And almost every senior, sorry to say this, is on a medication.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, they really are. And some are generic and really inexpensive, and some aren't. And so it's really important to make sure that you're checking your formulary. The other disruption I'm seeing with the Medicare Advantage is not only are we seeing some cuts in benefits, but we're also seeing in some carriers narrowing of the network. So one of the things I do for all my clients is make sure that their doctors are still in the network for the following year, because that's really important.
Oh, especially for the seniors.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
You have a doctor you love, you want to be able to see that doctor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so the best thing to do is to have that review. Don't put it off. Let's get it done today. Take care of yourself. Take care of your health. Your health insurance, especially when you're in a senior, that's one of the number one things that people especially talk about. But listen to me. Do not ask your neighbor.
No.
And don't ask, even your wife or significant other might be on a different plan than you, right? Because everybody's different. You have different doctors, you have different medicines that you're taking, right?
That's right.
So
Different needs. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So that's why I always tell people to speak to somebody here local. I think that's huge, and to have somebody that is your insurance advocate, that would be fantastic. To have somebody that's right on top of things for you, has your back.
Exactly.
That's another good one.
Yeah,
that you
that
have
is
there.
really good.
Okay, so that, again, she works statewide, and it is a free service to you. I don't understand why, people don't realize there's people like you that exist.
I think that's true. And what happens is they'll see a commercial on the TV, Or someone will call them. And do you know it's illegal for someone to call you and talk to you about Medicare? Someone called me yesterday and asked me if I needed help with my Medicare.
Oh my God, how
And I
did you
said,
answer?
well,
I'm so glad you called.
yes, what's your NPN number? So what's your license number? They hung up because they're breaking the law. I can't call people. People have to call me. And that's a way of protecting you from being harassed and solicited to. You know, it's really a problem. So we want a local person, me or somebody else, who's licensed, who knows the local plans, and is going to look out for your best interests.
Yeah.
You call a call center and something goes wrong with your plan, they're not picking up the phone again.
Right, it's not gonna be that person number one, and it's not Joe Namath, you know, that
Right.
you're working with, right?
And I can promise you, Joe Namath doesn't have that plan.
That's probably right, true, I've
It's
never even
100%
thought about
true,
that.
yeah.
Wow. So, you know, think about that, even, you know, a lot of people, they see these things and they get these calls, they're lonely, they wanna talk to somebody, and they'll do that, and please do not do that. These people, she is your insurance advocate. They're here local. They're here to help you make sure that you're on the right plan. It just makes sense. If it's not right, then you tell them you're on the right plan for yourself.
Oh, 100% I do that all the time.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and actually I've met a couple people who are on really crazy, unique plans. And I'm like, wait, I don't understand this plan. Like, there's a postal plan that only 20 people are on.
Because it's only
they're,
two
they're
postal
so
people?
old, like, it's like it doesn't exist. And so I called to find out about the plan, and I had to tell the guy, don't you ever let anybody touch this plan. This plan is amazing, and nobody else can ever get this plan. So you have to promise me not to talk to anybody. Because if people don't take the time, they might move you to something, and that would be really unfortunate.
Absolutely. Again, her phone number to call is 602-571-1118. She works statewide, and this is a free service to you. It just makes sense. What are your final words to everybody out there?
Make sure you check your plan this year, because there are a lot of changes, and you want to make sure that you're getting the biggest bang for your buck. With inflation and everything that's happening, and we're seeing copays and things go up, it's important to just double check.
Double check and make sure that this is the right plan for you, and the only way you're gonna know is don't do it yourself either, don't do that. A lot of people do. Please, please, please call somebody local here, and it's a free service to you. It just certainly makes sense, and when something makes sense, sometimes you just gotta do it. That phone number again, it's 602-571-1118. Her website is CMAC, M-A-C, so cmacinsurance.com.